Well, the coaching moves are underway. I'm Pete Mundo, Heartland College Sports Weekly, part of heartlandcollegesports.com, your independent Big 12 digital media outlet. Thanks so much for joining us and being a part of the show. So let's talk about Bill Snyder's retirement here first off. The way this thing went down was very awkward to me. First off, it should have happened a week earlier than it did. And maybe not a week, but certainly it should have happened a few days earlier than it did. That tells me that Bill Snyder did not want to give it up. He did not want to stop coaching. You know the other reason I feel like that happened? Because there was a statement that was put out by Kansas State, and guess what? There was nothing in there from Bill Snyder. The guy who was retiring after 27 years on the job. Basically 30 years with the program. There was that 3-year stint with Ron Prince. Thank God we all forget that. But basically 30 years of him turning around what was at the time, and many people believe to be, the worst college football program in America. And for him to not have anything in that statement saying, you know, hey, love the fans, thanks so much, talk to you guys soon, something. You know, anything from Bill Snyder. I'm having soup for dinner. I mean, just something that makes you say, yeah, he was part of this. He was into this. He didn't do it. And it was very awkward. You know, Gene Taylor, the AD, said last week, I will have an answer hopefully we will have an answer by the end of the week. He didn't. Friday came and went. Saturday came and went. Now, he wasn't going to do it on Championship Saturday, but then it came down to Sunday. And it was like, we appreciate Coach. He was really successful, and we're looking for a new head coach. It was weird. And it's sad. It didn't have to be this way, but there's a lot of people to blame. First off, I put some of the blame on Bill Snyder. The reason I put some of the blame on Bill Snyder is because he was too stubborn during this whole thing. The writing was on the wall. It was time. Frankly, it was probably time after Colin Klein maybe, but if nothing else, he could have got out last year. You win the Cactus Bowl in dramatic fashion. You beat UCLA. You end, 8-5, go out on a high note. That could have been it. You come back. You have a bad season. You go 5-7. All year people are saying, you know, does he still have it? Is it still there? It did not look like a Bill Snyder coach team at all. Special teams were a mess. Too many penalties. Couldn't figure out what he wanted to do on offense. Two really green coordinators. There was a lot of question marks there. And it did not look like a Bill Snyder team. So it was time. And he did not clearly want to admit that it was time. At least that's not what it looked like over the last couple of weeks. It just nothing about how the last couple of weeks went looked like a guy that was content moving on. Because you know what would have been great? It would have been great if the Kansas State fan base could have spent maybe that final senior day against Texas Tech saying goodbye to the coach. You know, that would have been awesome. And I know that's not Bill Snyder's style, but that would have been so cathartic for the fan base. The place would have been rocking. And I know they won the game, but man, it just would have been nice. And he was too stubborn to kind of agree to something like that, because I think he still wanted to do this. I blame the university. I mean, the university allowed themselves to be bent over a barrel when it came to some of this stuff around Bill Snyder. The fact that he had it written in his contract that he could have adequate input into his successor. This guy was paid millions of dollars to coach the team. Got the stadium named after him. I know that's partially because of, what he's helped do at that university, but still, they've treated him very well. You got the statue, everything else. The fact that that was in his contract, it didn't help this whole situation. You can't have an employee, no matter who it is, whether it's Bill Snyder, you can go down to LeBron James, anybody. You can't have somebody be ultimately bigger than the program. Because then, you got the inmates running the asylum, so to speak. And, Bill Snyder, if it was up to him, he'd do this till he dropped dead. And that did not create a good situation, because we know he wanted Sean to be the head coach. And thank goodness Sean is not the head coach. I'm sorry. Sean Snyder's probably a good man. If you want to be a head coach of a team, go be a head coach. Go to Garden City Community College. Go to Emporia State. Go to Texas State. But to think that you're going to hang around as the special teams coordinator / assistant head coach and just be handed the job, no. That nepotism would have driven me nuts. And I'm glad Kansas State, it took them a little bit, but I'm glad they stood up to the darn thing. So I'll give Gene Taylor some credit for that. But it just felt awkward to me. I don't know what's next for – I mean, not that Bill Snyder's coaching, but is he going to do something next year, or is this going to kind of end on a sour note between himself and the rest of the program? I don't know. We'll see. By the way, you have Kliff Kingsbury. Kliff Kingsbury is going to USC. So it was reported late last week that this was a done deal. And then people like Bruce Feldman said, not so fast. He's got some NFL options he wants to consider. And think about this. Texas Tech gets rid of this guy. I would not have fired him. I made that very clear multiple times throughout the last 10 days, 2 weeks, whatever it might be. I wouldn't have fired him. I looked at the big picture. I said this team is trending in the right direction. They played the best teams in the Big 12 to single digits to, a touchdown or so. He had a ton of injuries. He deserved another shot. Tech felt otherwise. And now Kingsbury's apparently looking at NFL offers. I mean, are you kidding me? Even if it's just offensive coordinator. I mean, that tells you a lot about what people think of this guy. Now he's going to go to USC. He's going to light it up with JT Daniels. You just watch. That team, which was one of the worst offensive teams in the Pac-12, is going to be totally changed. Now, for Matt Wells, I don't know much about Matt Wells. I'm not going to pretend that I do. I trust Kirby Hocutt based on the hires that he's made in baseball and in basketball. I trust him, but I got to be honest. This is not a hire that makes the fan base jump around, right? It's not. So it doesn't mean he's not going to be a great head coach. Doesn't mean he's not going to turn around the program. But at the same time, he's not somebody that makes the donors make sure that they're buying up those box seats next year. I mean, they'll do it because it's the start of a new regime, but I don't think it makes them overly excited. I'll leave it at that. So it'll be fascinating to follow. I'm really interested in learning more about Matt Wells, seeing what he's all about, where this goes, what kind of a coach he is at the Power 5 level. He's kind of had an up-and-down tenure at Utah State, and it'll be intriguing to see. Coming up, got a lot to get to. Let's talk to Derek Duke, our own Derek Duke, Heartland College Sports Weekly, part of heartlandcollegesports.com. All right, Facebook, YouTube, appreciate you guys. Please do subscribe, share it, do it all. Go check out the podcast as well because we're putting this all up there. Subscribe over there. If you do subscribe on iTunes, send me a screenshot, Pete Mundo at heartlandcollegesports.com, and I will get you a free Heartland College Sports koozie in the mail. So go do that. We appreciate you guys, and we'll talk to you soon.